Hello and welcome to the HR Kyle podcast, the ultimate resource for HR insights and guidance that will empower both seasoned business professionals and eager job seekers. I'm HR Kyle, your host. I'm excited to embark on this journey with you. In each episode, we'll delve into the intricacies of HR management, uncovering strategies that can transform the way you approach talent acquisition, employee engagement, and workplace dynamics. Whether you're a seasoned HR pro navigating the ever-evolving landscape of human resources or a job seeker striving to land your dream position, this podcast is your compass. Our mission is simple: to provide you with actionable knowledge, expert interviews, and inspiring stories that will help you thrive in the world of HR. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to take your HR game to the next level. Welcome to the HR Kyle podcast, where HR meets success. Hello and welcome to another insightful episode of the HR Kyle podcast. I'm your host, HR Kyle. In today's show, we dive into the multifaceted world of employment. In segment 1, we'll explore the idea that a job is much more than just a paycheck. It's about finding the right fit for you and your aspirations. I'll be sharing tips on how to navigate this crucial aspect of your professional life. Then in segment 2, we have a special guest, Lauren, a college senior with a wealth of experiences to share about her journey through academia. She'll discuss how she's poised to launch her career on a strong foundation. It's a must listen for anyone on the brink of their own career adventure. Stay tuned as we unpack valuable insights in these 2 segments. We'll take a quick break now and be right back with more on the HR Kyle podcast. Are you a business owner looking to build a thriving team? Or perhaps a job seeker on a quest for your dream career? Look no further than HR Kyle. HR Kyle is your trusted partner for all things human resources. We're not just about services, we're about success. For businesses, HR Kyle offers tailored HR solutions from talent acquisition to compliance support. We're here to help your team flourish. And for the job seekers, HR Kyle provides personalized career guidance and direction that only a seasoned HR professional can offer. We'll help you find that perfect job match. Don't settle for less. Choose HR Kyle and unlock success today. Visit us at www.hrkyle.com. HR Kyle, unlocking potential, empowering careers, transforming business. Welcome back, valuable listeners, to the HR Kyle podcast. Once again, I'm your host, HR Kyle. We hope you enjoyed that brief intermission. Today in segment 1, we're exploring the depth of what makes a job more than just a paycheck, working to understand the nuances that contribute to job satisfaction and fulfillment. Let's unravel the layers and uncover insights that can guide you in finding the right job for you. And I call this a job as more than just pay. It really is about finding the right job for you. And again, as I say every week, and this one's no different, a couple of things to start us off. One, this is a presentation I've done before. I receive a lot of positive feedback on this one, and actually quite a few requests to go over this material. So that's why I chose it for today's podcast. And beyond that, as usual, we'll move a little quickly. I know that. You now know that. So get your papers and pencil ready to take notes. And I always start this discussion off, I should say, by reminding you of your interview focus. And it comes down to 2 things typically, but there's one more I'll throw in here. The one is your focus in an interview is to stand out from the others who are being considered in a positive way. Number 2, you really want to help that employer imagine you in that job that you're interviewing for. But there is, in fact, a third focus. You have to ask yourself, is this job right for you? Because as the old saying goes, and it's very true, you're not only being interviewed, but you're also interviewing. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. So a job really is more than a paycheck. Hopefully by now you realize that, but I'm going to give you a little bit more detail and data around that. Think of it more as total compensation. I'm going to go through some things to think about relative to this concept of total compensation, which again does include pay, but it's only one piece of the overall total compensation package. First off, you want to consider how many holidays does the organization pay and celebrate per year. And companies do vary on that particular number. The most common figure that you'll most often see is 7 to 8 holidays per year. And it's typically the usual suspects: Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Memorial Day, etc. What you're looking for, though, ideally, is an organization that offers somewhere beyond the 8, because every one of those days off contributes to your happiness, does it not? Number two, and following that same theme, companies vary quite a bit according to how much vacation that they offer to employees, especially new hires. Vacation is something in many cases that you can negotiate, and I would suggest whenever you're made an offer to explore that. But you need to realize that vacation is in fact part of your total compensation package. And it's something that you should ask about and you should discuss as you get further along in the interview process, and especially at the point of an offer. Benefit cost and coverages. Another item to consider when you're looking at the total offer from an employer. Included in these benefits costs, if these are things that are important to you, are things such as adoption benefits, fertility treatments. Those are not offered typically as part of healthcare benefit offerings. So again, if those are things that are important to you, you do need to ask about them, and you need to make sure that they're covered within the overall healthcare offering. Again, if that's something that's important to you. But especially focus on how much are those benefits going to cost you and what is covered as part of your benefits. Because whatever it costs you, that's going to come out of the pay that you receive from the employer. And again, that impacts that total compensation offer. The next thing to consider, if it's important to you, do they offer maternity and paternity leave? This is not yet a common benefit offered by employers. So if it's something that's important to you, you do need to ask about it. Because again, it does impact that overall offer that they're making. Another one to consider, profit sharing or bonus programs. Does the company offer either of those or maybe both? And what's the likelihood that you would receive monies from that? Again, that all goes into that total compensation package that we're now starting to tabulate. The next item to consider, retirement savings. Most often when individuals think of retirement savings, they think of 401k accounts. So the first question becomes, do they offer a 401k account? But the more important question is, along with that, do they offer a match for the contributions you make to the 401k? We'll walk through a quick example. Let's say the offer is $50,000 per year. The company has a 401k plan. It's dollar for dollar match up to 4%. Meaning, if you contribute 4% of your pay to your 401k, the company contributes another 4% to your 401k account. So in essence, each year you're contributing 8%. Again, just an example. So that additional 4%, which by the way, in a year on a $50,000 salary amounts to $2,000, that $2,000 is something else that you can now add to your total compensation package. So now we're starting to see that grow much more beyond just base pay. The next item to consider, education reimbursement. A lot of companies now offer some sort of an education reimbursement, meaning you as the employee choose to go back to college for an associate degree, a bachelor's degree, or master's degree. The company approves the reimbursement, so they help you pay for the cost of obtaining that degree. We're adding to that total compensation offering. The next item, and this one gets overlooked a lot, and it really shouldn't be, employee discount programs. Many companies now offer discount programs on purchases such as cell phones and computers and laptops and so on. They also offer discount programs for amusement parks, for travel, for vacations. This all contributes to your total compensation package if you're taking advantage of those discounts. Many times those discounts average anywhere from 25% to as much as 75% off the typical cost for those purchases. Special incentives. These most often relate to health and wellness incentives. For example, the employer may cover the cost for a gym membership for a year. The employer may also incentivize you to get regular annual checkups or to have annual blood work done. And that incentive amounts to a cash value that they provide to you each year upon receiving those various checkups. Those are the kind of special incentives that I'm talking about. Employee appreciation events is another item to consider. Do they have events that they host as part of the company to provide a thank you to their employees? Maybe it's a summer picnic. Maybe it's a holiday party. Again, those are all part of that total compensation, for lack of a better term, or the benefits of working for that organization. So it should be taken into account when considering that offer. Another popular benefit that I'm starting to see more and more is an early release program. One of the more common ones is offering early release to employees over the summer months. For example, Friday rolls around, everyone leaves the office 2 hours early, and they're paid for that 2 hours that they leave early. That's an additive incentive to working with that organization and should be considered when you're considering that total compensation offer. Because time off, as we all know, can be very valuable. So it should be part of that offer. Too often, though, we don't consider these items when we're looking at that job offer. We're looking at that base pay, and we look past things such as holidays and vacations and the other incentives that I've left off, and we only come to realize their value when either we don't have them, or even worse, someone we know has those benefits and they're reaping the benefit of having those. So definitely consider these type of things when you're looking at an offer from an organization. These are very important to looking at that total compensation package that is being made to you. And again, I think we all can agree those things that I listed, they have a value. They have a monetary value, but they also have an intangible value, a quality of life value, as I like to call it. So that's part one of looking at a job that you're considering and asking yourself, is that job right for you? But there's a part two to this also, and it's just as important. You're looking to answer the question, what's it like working there? And it's really easy to say, well, gosh, how would I know that? I haven't worked there yet. I'm still interviewing and so on. You can, in fact, gain a lot of insight through the interview process on what it's like working at that particular employer. So let's talk through that. Throughout the interviews, both in person and over the phone and via email, ask yourself, are the people that you're interacting with friendly? Because I don't know anyone who ever said, gosh, I want to work in an unfriendly workplace. And I can't believe anybody that's listening now would say that. We all like to work at places where it's friendly. We're friendly with each other. So ask yourself, are they being friendly with me through this interview process? Do I feel welcome? That's giving you some insight into how it's going to be when you work there. Next question, do you like the people you met with? And most importantly, your boss, your coworkers, if you have an opportunity to meet with them during the interview process, ask yourself, do you like them? Because you're going to want to answer that question before you join the organization. Because if you don't like them during the interview process, I can almost guarantee that's not going to change when you hire in. Speaking of the boss, ask yourself, what's your boss's leadership style? And then when you have that thought in your mind, you know what's even more important? Ask that potential boss, what's their leadership style? And then really listen to that answer. And if they can give some examples of what that looks like in practice, that's a beautiful thing because you really want to know that. There's an old saying, and I found it to be very true. People don't always quit jobs, but they always quit bad bosses. Here's the next question. Throughout the interview process, did they seem ready for your visit? So when you go to that interview at that scheduled time, does everyone seem ready? Or does it seem like a surprise? They weren't expecting you, they weren't prepared, rooms aren't reserved, so on and so forth. That gives you a feel for how that business conducts itself. And if you're comfortable with that level of chaos, good for you. Me personally, I'm not. So if that interview process is chaotic, I can almost assure you working there will be the same way. Find out too, do employees receive training? We all want to receive training from our employer. That's how we keep our skills sharp. That's how we ensure that we know how to do the things that we're supposed to do. So you want to find out, do they offer training? Is there a training program? Right along with that and making it even more personal, find out, do they have a development plan for you? After you start the organization, do they have some sort of a plan laid out for your first 30, 60, 90 days that you're going to follow in order to make you successful long term in that organization? It's okay to ask that question, find out what the answer is. Find out too, what's the onboarding and orientation plan? Do they have a plan for that first day, first couple of days to get you familiar with the organization, for the departments you're working in, the people that you'll be working with, and so on? They should have a plan. If they don't, I would be very concerned. Here's some other things to think about. Ask yourself, what else is important to me with an employer? What are the other things that I'm looking for in that environment or characteristics of that employer? And I'll give you a few to think about. More and more people are putting value on their employer being a good community partner, meaning they take advantage of community service opportunities. If that's something important to you, ask your employer about that or your possible employer about that during the interview process. Is it a clean work environment? If it's a case of where you're taking a job in a manufacturing environment and the focus on it being clean and orderly is important to you, ask about it. Look around. See if that's the kind of behavior that they're modeling. Do you see respect amongst employees? Watch for that. How do they interact with each other? What does that look and sound like? Because again, how they interact with each other during this process is how you're going to be interacted with after you join the organization. Does it seem like a fun environment? If that's something important to you, do people seem relaxed and like they're having fun at work? And I know there's some limitations to that. Believe me, I do know that. But again, I don't know anybody that ever said, hey, I want to go into a work that's really boring and not much fun. So find out what that work environment looks like. The other thing, too, that's become more and more popular are employee resource groups. And organizations use these typically to find out from specific groups the things that are important to them in the workplace and to put more of a spotlight on those items for those particular employees. If employee resource groups is something that's important to you, ask the employer, do you have these? Where do they fit into your business plan each year? What are the results of these employee resource groups? How do you meet with them? What comes out of that? Ask these kind of questions. And again, this is coming back to our theme at the beginning. One, job is more than just pay. It truly is. We talked about the total compensation and all the things to look at there. But we're also looking at what are the things that are important to you in the workplace. So in other words, that whole picture is about finding the right job for you. And that's what we've been talking about today. That concludes our thought-provoking discussion in segment 1 about the holistic nature of a job and finding the right professional fit. Now, before we jump into segment 2 with Lauren's inspiring college experience, let's take a quick word from our sponsor. Stay tuned for more on the HR Kyle podcast.
Are you a business owner looking to build a thriving team? Or perhaps a job seeker on a quest for your dream career? Look no further than HR Kyle. HR Kyle is your trusted partner for all things human resources. We're not just about services, we're about success. For businesses, HR Kyle offers tailored HR solutions from talent acquisition to compliance support. We're here to help your team flourish. And for the job seekers, HR Kyle provides personalized career guidance and direction that only a seasoned HR professional can offer. We'll help you find that perfect job match. Don't settle for less. Choose HR Kyle and unlock success today. Visit us at www.hrkyle.com. HR Kyle, unlocking potential, empowering careers, transforming business.
Welcome back, everyone, to the HR Kyle podcast in segment two. We're thrilled today to welcome our special guest, Lauren. Lauren's a college senior on the verge of completing her bachelor's degree at a major Midwest university. Get ready to be inspired as she shares her impressive journey through college and how she's now more ready than ever to put her education and experiences to work in the professional world. Lauren, welcome to the HR Kyle podcast.
Hi, Kyle. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited and just, excited to share kind of my background and kind of what I think about things. So yeah, thanks.
No, you're very welcome. We're thrilled to have you, as I said. Lauren, let's start off the segment with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I am a senior in college, so wrapping up the fall semester and then getting ready to start the spring semester. It's crazy to think about. The time really does fly, and I know people say that all the time, but it really does. My major is actuarial mathematics, and I have a double minor in both economics and business. Some other school stuff, I'm a part of the Honors College program. I'm also president of our Student Ambassadors Association. I'm on our University Libraries Council. I am also a State First Ohio scholar and researcher, so that's really exciting. And I'm also on our university's foundation board. So those are just some school things that I really like and that take up a lot of my time, but I also really enjoy them when I'm not in class. Besides that, I'm an avid reality TV junkie. Can't get enough of that. I also really enjoy running and baking and obviously spending time with my friends and family whenever I can fit it in. So try to stay busy for sure, but I quite enjoy it.
Lauren, and I think there's one thing you left out. If I'm not mistaken, you were on the homecoming court this past semester.
I was on homecoming court this past semester. It was a great opportunity. I was able to represent our student ambassadors and just kind of, be a representative for the university as all of our alumni come back. So it was really such an honor and just great to be able to do community service and be on the court with just so many other incredible individuals.
Well, you and I have known each other roughly for about a year now. And just judging by your intro, I think everyone else is going to put two and two together here. One thing that's always stood out to me is just how involved you are on campus. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And more importantly, what motivates you to be so involved? I mean, you could just as easily go through your classes. You've got a major, you've got dual minors. You're more than busy with your course load. Why all of the additional involvement?
That's a great question. I would probably say the unknown is a big reason why. And that's what I tell people, and they're like, the unknown, like, what does that even mean? Like, don't you want to know what's going on? And I'm like, no, I don't always want to know what's going on because with everything that I get to do besides just my classes, I get to meet so many incredible people and I get to do so many incredible things that I probably wouldn't get the chance to do otherwise. And, the classes are super important. Obviously, it's why we're here to get the degree, but to me, they're not going to be my favorite memories when I look back at college. They're not going to be the thing that I look back and I say, oh, I really remember this day in that class, or I really remember learning this exact topic. But instead, it's going to be, I remember working in the President's Luge for a football game, or I remember when I presented my research at the end of my junior year or whatever else it was. So those are just the experiences that I think will really kind of be core memories for me as I get older. And there are also ways that I'm able to learn from others. So like I said, class is super important. You learn from your professor, from your classmates, from your work. But they don't always really give you the skills that you're going to really need to be successful in those classes as far as interpersonal skills and how to interview and how to network and people, connecting you with other professionals, maybe in a field that you're interested in. So it's really those types of things that kind of light a fire under me every day, not necessarily my classes. So that's why I really, really enjoy kind of getting into the unknown and seeing what I can find and what I can get into, because I just think it's really exciting and you never know what might come along when you get yourself involved in these types of opportunities, which I think just makes it wonderful.
No, great explanation and great advice to the listeners out there. Now, besides your campus involvement, which again, you're more than busy there, you've also been active on the employment front with both internships and ambassador work. What was your thought process in seeking out those opportunities beyond, again, just focusing on your coursework?
Yeah, so as far as that goes, internships aren't really something that's required for my major. I don't have to have it to graduate. Honestly, didn't really ever know if I would do it or not. And my high school career ended with COVID. I graduated from high school in 2020, also started college that same year. So there just wasn't a lot going on. And I was pretty bored. You know, you get to campus and you have these expectations of what you see in the movies and on TV and whatever. And it really just wasn't like that at all. It was pretty boring just because of COVID going on. So I knew pretty quickly that I wasn't going to handle that very well. So I needed to get out and do something. So I started with Ambassadors my freshman year. I saw a poster for it and I was like, you know, that's something that I think would be really cool and interesting. So I applied, got accepted, and joined that semester. And that really kind of sprung me into all the possibilities of what I could do. So that was a really big motivator for me, was just, you know, there wasn't a lot going on. So I knew that I had to find something to do to keep busy, and that's kind of what landed in my lap. And then as far as internships go, they just have a really good way of getting you real world experience. Obviously, you know, sitting in the classroom, you learn different skills of maybe computer programming or how to market something, or maybe it's, you know, human resources or business or art or whatever it is, or sales or accounting. The list goes on and on. But it's kind of when you get into an internship or into a co-op or into a part-time job of a field that you might be interested in that you really learn how it goes. So I've seen a corporate side of things. I've seen a startup side of things. So I've seen a few different things, and it's really taught me what I like, but I think it's more important to learn what you don't like. I've kind of come across that, and now I kind of know what I'm going to seek whenever, you know, it's almost time to start applying for jobs here, and then what I want to stay away from. So although, you know, it definitely takes more than just an internship or two to figure that out, you definitely want to look back at your experiences and say, hey, I really liked that, or hey, I really didn't. And another reason why I wanted to get involved in this way is because I wanted to look back and say, you know, I'm really proud of myself and what I did during my college time. You know, I went to class every day and I got good grades, which is all great. But I also personally, for myself, just wanted to look back and say, you know, I did X, Y, and Z and I did that well. And I'm proud of myself because I went out and I got that internship, or I went out and I filled that executive role on an executive board on an organization at school, or whatever it was. And college is really what you make it. So I figured, you know, you need to make it big. So that's why I decided that it would be best. And I really encourage other people to do the same thing if they're able.
No, great advice. And the other thing that I hope our listeners are drawing out of what you're sharing, in each one of these experiences, you simply did not just go through the motions. Having a little bit of a background of what you've been up to for the past year and so on, the one thing that stood out to me is in each one of these, you've absolutely made the most of it. I mean, you've been exceptional in how you've performed your duties or the activities related to that. So that's something for me that stood out. And I have to warn my listeners that first time we ever met, I immediately was thinking, gosh, where can I hire this girl? Where can we put her in my current company? And I hope as the listeners are listening in here, they've gathered that, because you're more than just a doer. You're truly an achiever.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle. I really appreciate that. And I always say anything worth doing is worth doing well, you know. It also can, maybe, you never know, you know, it might land you a job in the future if you do well at an internship. Maybe it'll land you a job where you're working, or maybe they'll know somebody to connect you to. You just never really know where that line's going to go. So I just think it's really important at all that you have. And like I said, sometimes it works out great and sometimes you learn that it's not for you. Either way is great.
No, every experience is a learning lesson.
Absolutely.
Well, Lauren, as a college senior with graduation just around the corner, what advice would you give to someone who's just entering college, or maybe they're a sophomore or a junior, to make their college experience a full, rewarding experience? And more importantly, place them in a positive position, as you alluded to a little bit ago, to successfully transition to the work world.
Yeah, so I don't know if I can give just one piece of advice. I have a few. I would say, first off, definitely get involved, but don't just go get involved with anything. Get involved with things that you're interested in. So, there's certain things that you're going to come across and you're going to be like, that's cool or that's fun and that's great. You can do those too, but make sure you find one or two things that you really don't mind throwing yourself fully into, something that you get excited to attend or something that you get excited to do. Because the more that you pour your heart and soul into those activities or an organization or an internship or whatever it might be, you'll get a much bigger reward out of that. Also, everybody says this, but it's obviously important to make sure you study and make sure you're keeping your grades up, but definitely don't forget to have fun. Coming into college, I'm pretty studious. I definitely like to get my work done first, and then play later, but you do want to make sure you have some fun. These are the best times can be some of the best times of your life. So you definitely want to make sure that they don't slip by. Also, another thing I would say is connect with your professors. It's something that a lot of people don't necessarily do, whether it's going to office hours or getting a recommendation letter, or believe it or not, just like sitting in the first row or two in the room. Definitely can get you involved with your professors, and that might lead to good paths down the road. So definitely connect with them and anybody else that you come across. That is what I would say would be my 3 tips of advice.
Wonderful. Lauren, some incredibly solid advice, and gosh, just sharing your story and your experiences over the past, it's been 3+ almost 4 years now. I think there's a lot of really good lessons to take from what you've shared today.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle. I really appreciate you having me. I wish everybody luck, whether you're going into college, getting out of it, or maybe you're going back, who knows, but it really is a great time to make sure that you get the most out of it that you can.
Lauren, thank you for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. Your experiences are truly inspiring, and we appreciate your valuable perspective. Wishing you continued success as you embark on the next chapter after completing your bachelor's degree. And quite honestly, it's been a real pleasure having you on the HR Kyle podcast today.
Thanks so much, Kyle. I really appreciate the opportunity.
You're very welcome. And that wraps up segment 2 of the HR Kyle podcast featuring our remarkable guest, Lauren. This also concludes this episode of the HR Kyle podcast. I'm happy you joined us again today. If you haven't subscribed or followed us on your favorite podcast platform, now's the time. You don't want to miss future episodes. But until next time, this is HR Kyle signing off. Keep striving to be your best and take care.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the HR Kyle podcast. We hope you found our discussion valuable and filled with insights that you can apply in your professional journey. Whether you're a business leader aiming to foster a thriving workplace or a job seeker looking to carve out your own path, remember that HR Kyle is the compass that can guide you towards success. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with your network. We're committed to being your trusted source for HR wisdom, and we look forward to having you back with us for our next episode. Remember, in the world of HR and professional growth, there's always room for progress. Be sure to visit our website at hrkyle.com. That's hrkyle.com to learn more about how we can help you meet your business and professional goals. So until next time, this is HR Kyle signing off. Stay motivated, stay informed, keep reaching for those bigger goals. Music provided by bensound.com. That's bensound.com.